Welcome to the second hour of the Amazon's podcast. I'm Glenn Young, owner of Amazon's Fitness Magazine, Celebrate the Female Physique, Amazon'sFitMag.com. The podcast is brought to you by title sponsor, Maximus Posing Suits. Let your inner warrior shine. Custom-made competition suits for victory on every stage. MaximusPosingSuits.com. And bronze level sponsor, Murder Weight Apparel. Is not just a clothing brand that you're wearing. You're also wearing a mindset. Murderweight.com. And of course, GPS photography and video. That's me. Amazon's Fitness Magazine is a GPS photography and video publication. Why photography and video? Because with photos worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000. GPSphotoandvideo.com. My guest, IFBB Women's Physique Pro, Brittany Flex Herrera. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you, Mr. Glenn?
Hey, thank you so much for joining me. I was sad to hear that you say that you are done for the season. Are you?
That is undecided at this time. I would love to compete this weekend, but realistically, we want to bring something amazing, something great, something they've never seen before, something that you feel is gonna get you to that next level, which is the Olympia stage.
Yes.
So for me, whenever I feel like my body is there, I'm gonna just jump into a show. That's why I feel like my mindset is not, I'm gonna do this show in this many weeks and XYZ. I'm just letting my body enjoy the process and compete when it's ready to go. That's where I'm at right now.
And who's your coach?
My coach is Francisco Espen.
Okay.
He is out of Spain. I don't know if you know who he is. He doesn't have any women's physique girls other than me right now. I mean, he has a couple, but they haven't competed. The last athlete, actually, he does have some. He has a young lady named Jasmine who looks crazy. I don't know her last name. But he did have another girl who made top 5 a couple of years in a row. I forget what her name is, but she hasn't been around in a while either. I don't know what's going on with her. But you know how it is. We come, we go, we come back, and we change the hair and the body and everything.
Yeah.
So maybe they competed and I missed it because they look completely different. I don't know.
So give me a little bit of history about yourself, how you got started, and where'd you get the nickname Flex?
So I got started kind of accidentally, coincidentally, I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe in 2013, never been to a show, didn't really know anything about bodybuilding at all. I had just got back into fitness. I played sports my entire life, basketball, competitive soccer, all throughout high school. I just so happened to join a Zumba challenge one year with my parents, and it kind of started the whole fitness thing for me again. And I refound my love for fitness through that. Saw Dana Lynn in a magazine one day, just going through the grocery store. This is when magazines were still cool to be featured in, which amazing. I could only imagine.
It's still cool.
And I saw
I'm bringing back the cool. with Amazon Fitness.
Exactly. So I saw her and I was like, wow, she looks great. Like, who is this chick? So I started looking into her because she was doing like a MHP, right? Is that what they're called? Yeah, MHP ad. Right. And I saw her and I was like, that's kind of what I'm imagining. And after that, I found a coach and I started getting into it and it just trickled from there. Did my first show, did terrible. Oh my God. It was bad. My first coach was not a good, wasn't the best coach, but I did learn a lot of things that help me now as a coach. So there's always a learning lesson, even if it's not in that moment. So I do value him for that, for teaching me how to be a better coach. Went pro in 2016 after switching to women's physique. I actually did my first show on women's bodybuilding because women's physique was still very new at the time. And my coach didn't even know women's physique existed because he was old school bodybuilding. So he's like, oh no, that's how he talks. Oh no, you're too big. You're too big. Me too big. Anyway, so I did bodybuilding, qualified. I ended up doing Junior USA's 2016, got my pro card, got the overall, and here we are. Done Olympia twice, done Arnold before he got rid of it.
Yeah. Well,
Which is sad because that's actually a really, really amazing show. Very amazing, very
yeah.
well put together.
Last
Well,
one I went there, I think last time they had women's physique was 2017 at the Arnold's. I was at that show. So yeah.
2017 was the last one. They did
Yeah.
one more after I did it, and that was
Mhm.
or no. Was that the
Was the
year?
one I think 2017 was the last one
No, I
with
think it
that
was
head women's physique.
2020. Because I did it. I don't know. It's been wow.
Yeah.
I feel old. I
But
have my memory.
sadly it's gone. But you know, I gotta ask you, you mentioned Dalen Lynn Bailey and women's physique, what it looked back then to now. What are your thoughts?
I think I think that there's always going to be an evolution and change in anything in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean it's expected. I can appreciate the hard work that it takes to get to where women's physique is now, because obviously they are completely different. If you were to look at the physique of a women's physique from back then, you wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
even categorize that as figure.
Right.
It wouldn't even pass as a figure physique that would do well. Let's say that would do well. So
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. You know, you kind of got to go with what's going at the time.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just gonna get left behind. So you got to grow. You got to get better. You got to bring your best package. Obviously, you can't necessarily chase what you think the judges want, because
Mm-hmm.
that, in my opinion, is not going to get you very far. Because let's be honest, it's not based by what the judges want. It's kind of based by who shows up when. In
Yes,
my
they can
opinion,
only judge what's in front of them.
they judge what's in front of them. And from what I've seen, if the look of the show is shredded and, you know, and peeled, they go with the shredded and peeled look. If the
Right.
majority shows up softer and there's only maybe 2 or 3 out of the 20, 30 girls that show up, they go with the softer look. And that's just
Mm-hmm.
what it is. I've experienced it myself, and sometimes it makes no sense, but that's why you just gotta sculpt the physique that you're gonna be happy with at the end of the day, because the competition is only for one weekend. There's only
Right.
one Olympia and one Miss Olympia, so gotta be happy
Well
when you look
said.
in the mirror.
Exactly. There's only one person you're chasing, and right now that's Sarah Villegas. And you're right. There's only one Miss Olympia, so that's what you train for, and that's what you go for. What's been your experience? You're a 2-time Olympian, and we joked earlier about taking this year off or not taking this year off. When was your last show? And give me your thoughts on how you progress as an Olympian in women's physique.
Well, my last competition was in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, 2021. I did 2 shows that year. And again, the same thing. One package, I brought a little bit softer and placed top 3. They told me to come in tighter, which I did, and the majority came in softer. So then I placed 11th. So, which in all of my years of being a pro, which I say it like it's been a long time, but that was my worst placing. So after that, I kind of just reflected a little bit, and obviously mentally it did get to me a little bit, which I've never experienced that before. So I was kind of like, I don't really know what to do from here. Like, you know, so I was like, I'm done with the season. I need to get better. I need to refocus. I need to get some things in place, not just in bodybuilding, because with bodybuilding, it's just a lot of your time.
Right.
So with my time off, I worked on myself. I worked on my physique so that when I do come back, I can bring that next level package. So for me, I took time to relearn my body, take better care as far as like my recovery, my mental health, as well as, just my life. So I think that as a returning Olympian, I'll have that advantage, I'd say, because I have been able to recenter my focus.
Good answer. How far do you feel, or how much do you feel that stress plays into competing? Because if you got something going on in your life, it messes with your training, it messes with your workout. How do you manage that, and how has it affected you?
I think that stress plays a major role because, when you're stressed out, your cortisol levels are going to be high. You're not going to get the results that you want, and you're not going to be able to put 100% completely into your workouts, your cardio, just the small things that you need to be able to focus on. You're not going to be able to do that. Now, some people are weird and they thrive off of that stress. They thrive off of the anger, which, don't get me wrong, I have times where those things do just really like push you a little bit further. But for the most part, you
And it
need to have
becomes like
all that.
eustress, as they call it, becomes a positive motivator. So yeah.
Exactly. But I'm saying that's few and far between, and you definitely can't go through an entire prep like that. Like,
No.
some things got to float. You can't do
Mhm.
everything a mess. It's not gonna play out well for you.
Do you have a cheat day? How does that play in? Or is like no one should have a cheat day? Some say that, well, I need a refeed. Some be like cheating is cheating. What are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are that I wouldn't even call it a cheat meal. I call them refeeds, because I feel like you definitely come to a point in a prep where you do need to refuel your body, and that it does benefit you and not harm you. Some people just, oh, I was good this week, I'm gonna have a cheat meal. But honestly, when you're competing competitively and you're doing the things you need to do and you're eating the food you need to eat to progress, you're not even hungry for that cheat meal. I couldn't tell you the last time I was like, the cheat meal. I think about a cheat meal, I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm too full. Like, I ate all these meals today. I ain't missed a meal. I'm not trying to shove anything else down. There's no room. There's no room. So for me, it's like, if I get it, I get it. If I need it, I'll do it, and I'll make it happen. But there have been weeks that have gone by, months, that I didn't miss it. I didn't need it and I didn't miss it. So if you're weekly needing to eat something crazy, you should reevaluate your current process.
You're not all in. As a coach, and you get a new athlete, amateur level, is getting ready for, to go on that path to pro card. What are some of the things that you stress? What are the do's and don'ts? How do you bring them into the indoctrination, because it is, of the fitness lifestyle, competitive fitness lifestyle, to compete?
Well, one of the first things I like to do is like figure out what the end goal is. What exactly is the end goal? Like, are you doing this for fun? Are you doing this because you want to lose some weight? Are you doing this because you want to be an Olympian or Miss Olympia, or what? Because we need to figure it out, because what it takes to get to each level is a little bit different. Anybody can go compete in an NPC show this weekend or in 3 months, but how well do you want to do and how far do you want to take it? Is what my first thing is. And I also explained to them, it's going to take a lot of hard work to get on a stage and look good in front of people. And you need to know that to get there, it's going to take a lot of sacrifices. So I try to make that very clear from the beginning and have realistic expectations for them, because a lot of people don't know anything about bodybuilding, because especially starting out, because they've never done it before. So like I said, I started with a coach that didn't give me any clear expectations or tell me that, this is a set diet, don't try to remix it. It ain't gonna work with your remix. When I tell you to eat chicken, that doesn't mean make a chicken salad on a sandwich. You know what I'm saying? Like, they be trying to do
Yeah.
extra. That
Yeah.
plain ass diet you got, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. That doesn't mean the chicken and then add whatever you want. It means this and
Yeah.
this only. You know what I'm saying? So I try to make it real clear while also remembering what it's
Mhm.
like to be in that position, because we were all there before.
Posing. How do you introduce posing to them? At what stage do you start
Day
working on
one.
posing?
Man, Mr. Glenn. So the posing, I take posing very seriously, just
Mhm.
because there's only so many moments in this experience of about, let's say, 6 minutes altogether in the weekend that you've put 20 weeks plus time in.
Mhm.
So I value every second that I'm up there. And I practice my posing daily,
Mhm.
whether it be during cardio, before my fasted, after fasted, during my workouts,
It just becomes part of the workout.
it's part of the workout. I need to know how to pose when I'm tired. I need to know how to hit
Mm.
poses when I'm fatigued and when I've got a pump and I'm saying, I need to know how to do all that. So I stress that to not just my clients, but people I meet and talk to in the street, in the gym. I was literally at the gym earlier talking to a girl telling me about how she placed second at the Pittsburgh Pro, and the
Mhm.
judges told her she got second because her posing was bad. And I said, well, why weren't you practicing your pose? Oh, I just didn't have time. I said, well,
Mm.
that's going to be your greatest downfall. You have the best package, yet you don't know how to present it to anybody. That makes no sense. You spend all that time working and slaving just to get up there and, like, you posing and your arms is down here. We can't see any lats. We can't see any peaks.
Mhm.
Your hands look crazy. They doing gang signs and all kinds of crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? And
Gang signs.
you can't be like, I don't like all that. It needs to look pretty. It needs to flow. It needs to be graceful. You need to look like
Mhm.
somebody wants to look like. And if you
Right.
don't practice that, you're gonna look crazy. And not in, like, you're gonna catch people's eyes, but not in a good way.
Right. How long must a competitor be prepared to pose? Because if it's close, they're gonna look you over and over. They're gonna go back and forth. Steve Weinberger is famous for that, because if it's close, they're really trying to separate. Who's different, who's better, and it comes down to posing. You could experience muscle fatigue. If you get the shakes, they're looking for that. What's been your experience with that, and how long must you be prepared to pose in a competition?
You know, I you got to just be prepared in general. I've had situations where the posing was quick, and I've
Mhm.
had times where I'm like, y'all better thank you, lady, me real quick, because we tired of here. I remember when I
Right.
did Omaha. I did Omaha in 2020. They posed us forever. It was me, Ivy, and somebody else. I don't remember.
Ivy
Maybe,
Rain. Mhm.
yeah, her and
Mhm.
somebody else, that they had the three of us, or maybe it was just the two that they left us up there forever. We
Right.
were sweating. I mean, it was bad. I couldn't believe they posed us that long. I that was
Mhm.
the longest posing I've ever done. And after that, I was like, I need to start practice posing more. Even though, you feel like you got it, you could be up there 5 minutes. And it felt like 20 minutes that they were posing us, but obviously it
Mhm.
wasn't, because they don't got that much time. But
Right.
you need to be prepared. You need to be holding those poses while you're practicing, not just 5 seconds. Like,
Right. Right.
especially more conditioned you are and you can hold the poses a little bit, I'd say 20 to 30 seconds per round at least,
Right.
to get used to conditioned posing. Very important. You got to
And
be able
that's
to
the
stand up there, because you start
yeah.
shaking,
Yep.
all your jiggle is jiggling with you, unless you rock
You lose
hard.
you lose all composure. Even then, because then they looking. at that midsection. It's like, okay. And then it's the pose. Now, okay, let's see the abdominals and thighs. And they swing you back through it, and then, move you around, say, okay, let's do it again. So
Mm-hmm.
when you look at it from the posing perspective, but also a 1-day show versus a 2-day show, prejudging that morning, finals that afternoon, or prejudging that morning, finals the next day. And that's never been seen out in women's bodybuilding or women's physique. But what's your thought on that? Someone wrote me and said, hey, the women should have a longer time, because it's ironic to think that you'll look one way in the morning, and then in finals, it's like a totally different competitor up there.
Mm. Well, it's like you said, I've never seen any women's shows that were split like that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really interesting as a competitor to see. I honestly don't really feel like I see much difference when a competitor competes in the morning and at night. Like you might get
Mm-hmm.
like a little bit tighter, little, but it's nothing like
Right.
drastic. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, I mean, obviously you can mess up the physique in that
Mm-hmm.
short window, but let's be honest, it's like
Right.
what, 4 or 5 hours in between prejudging and finals, depending on when they have you go on. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would want to experience a 2-day show. I mean, I'll do anything one time, but I can't
Right.
really see it being too great, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And I'm saying basically it would follow the same model as men's open bodybuilding,
Mm,
for example, for women's bodybuilding and women's physique. I think that'd be interesting, especially when you have an all women's show like a Rising Phoenix or, Triple O Dynasty, for example. So
mm-hmm,
when you look at, there's about roughly 8 shows left, 8 or 7 after this weekend with the Toronto Pro Showdown. What's been your take on the season when you look at this? Because we're about halfway done. 17 weeks out from the Olympia.
mm.
What have you seen? Good, bad, and the ugly.
You know, I've seen a lot of good competitors. I also feel like that I haven't seen as many good competitors as I know there is. But
Mm,
that is very typical for the start because I mean, it's still early. You know,
yeah.
there's only been like 4 or 5 shows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we know, I think we know by now that most female competitors that are trying to get to the Olympia are not competing in March, April, May. They're just not
Mm-hmm.
because it's so far away. And, the prize money isn't really incentive enough to want to compete
Mm-hmm.
that early to try to preserve yourself for what is it? October? I don't even know when the O is.
Yeah, October 9th and
Yeah,
10th.
it's just it's a big gap. So I am really happy about the winners that I've seen because they look great. It's not
Right.
like somebody kind of slipped through the crack, you know what I mean, where you're like, whoa, what just happened? Everybody that's qualified so far looks amazing. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
super excited to see what the Olympia is going to look like this year. um but that gap is, it's a little too, it's a little too wide, I think.
Yeah.
And they want to talk about people not showing up to the shows, but I
Right.
don't think that's really considered for the women. Like, let's talk, let's figure out why people aren't signing up for the shows. Let's also talk about why the shows aren't being as promoted as they should be. You want us to show
Mm,
up, but there's no money, there's not really a whole lot of promoting for the show. So there's a lot of things that kind of play into that I think haven't really been addressed. But I'm not a promoter. I'm just an
yeah.
athlete.
If they were to have a summit at the end of the season and invite all women's physique, women's bodybuilders, basically all 6 women's divisions, and y'all in a room with the promoters, and you're talking about prize money, you don't show up, it's not worth us to us as promoters with the sanction fee. What do you think that conversation should look like? What would be the questions that you would ask? And I'm basically just trying to get at how do we fix this? Women aren't showing up at the shows. Women's physique division this year. And it seems like deja vu. Last year, everybody was talking about women's bodybuilding not showing up at the shows. There's no point system. Winning, you're in. Prize money is an issue, but there's no incentive to, as you just said, to do a show in April or May time frame.
Mm-mm. No, and I also understand that when the promoters are like planning, I think it's something like they don't really get to pick when the show is. Their shows are kind of like assigned to them or something like that. Like they have options of days, but they can't just decide, hey, I don't want to do it in May anymore because nobody signs up. I want to do it in August. I don't think it's that easy for them either. But that's why it just something's got to change. I don't know how it is or what it is, but I also think that the separation between the top people, the promoters and the athletes is too far apart. There's no connection, there's no communication. And I know I've had conversations with promoters, down here because I do try to stay connected with the promoters and be active and show up to the events and whatever because I mean, why not? Like this is what I love. I like going to the shows and I do enjoy working with a lot of people in the federation. So I have asked them like, what are y'all expecting from us as athletes? And they're like, oh, bring people in, like make it more about the federation and not just yourselves.
Really?
Okay, well, how do we do that? Like that's a very broad statement. You know what I mean? Like you need to be very clear on what you expect from us as athletes, because you have to remember at the end of the day, we're not getting paid, so it's like we're trying to compete, we're trying to pay our bills, we're trying to afford to compete. So something's gotta something's got to happen, whether it be, and I always thought it would be an interesting idea. Like if y'all want us promoting the show and selling tickets, why is there not like a system where I sell tickets and I get, a percentage or something like that? You know what I'm saying? Oh, use my code.
Great idea. Yeah.
I'm helping promote this show. Buy tickets. You know what I'm saying? Like people, I'm talking to people all the time that like bodybuilding or want to go to a bodybuilding, or I might want to bodybuild. I've never been to a show. Why can I not sell them a ticket right now while also promoting your show and putting $5 of the $40 ticket I'm about to sell? $5 from the $40 ticket I'm about to sell could go back in my pocket or something. You know what I mean? There needs to be incentive. You want me to scratch you, but ain't nobody scratching me. Like it need to make sense. I'm not going to work every day for free.
Yeah.
Do you go clock in and make no money? You know what I'm saying? Like there needs to be an incentive. Like we love the sport. We want to see it grow too. Don't get me wrong. Nobody wants to go compete at a show and show up with 4 girls, yourself included. Obviously, we want to compete, but we want to feel competitive, and that's not going to happen if the sport doesn't grow. So we need to tell people there's a reason to want to be here.
Right.
So,
and typically, you are in Florida,
correct?
And the part of the nation or the part of the United States, when you look at the analysis, and maybe that's something that needs to be schemed as well. Which shows do better in the South, in the North, overseas? Because when you get that gauntlet like we're about to hit now, Chicago Pro, Atlanta Pro, the Tampa Pro all do well. Yet when you look at the West Coast, maybe not so much. And then when you look at the East Coast coming in, when I'm talking about Ohio, Pittsburgh, those areas, the only major pro shows are New York and Pittsburgh. But nobody's looking at St. Louis or Omaha going way out in the Midwest. And is that an issue, you think? The location, much like real estate?
I don't think so, because if anything, it's more affordable to compete in those areas because you can get a cheap plane ticket to Omaha and you can get a cheap plane ticket to St. Louis. You can get a cheap hotel in Omaha. When I did Omaha, everything was last minute, but it was affordable because who's trying to go to Omaha? So it's not really about that. Like I said, it's something about the promotion or whatever. Like, and you know what's his name? Jack Sullivan or
Jack
something.
and Ann to Tony.
Oh yes, I don't know who I just named, but
The Midwest, yeah.
yes. So obviously they're not as popular as Steve Weinberg or Tim Gardner. You know, people want to go to their shows because it's their shows. It's Tim Gardner. It's Steve Weinberg. So as a promoter, in my opinion, how do you compete with Steve and Tim? That's what they need to be thinking about. How do I promote? How do I become as good or better than them? And I would say I've met and personally know maybe one promoter that I would say is like competitive with a show like that, and they don't even, or he does have a pro a pro division, but it's not women's physique, but he puts on a great show. He brings in athletes somehow, but you know what, he is constantly showing face, promoting his show, shaking hands, bringing people in, you know what I mean? Like I always see him.
It
But
comes down to marketing.
Exactly. And I just don't see a lot of that. And granted, he is a local promoter, and I don't know these other people, so I only know what I see. But from what I see here, all the promoter, and it's Florida, so there's shows all the time out here every weekend. But you do notice a difference between the people who are promoting constantly and the people that promote just a little bit, and the results and the size of the shows are completely different. They're completely different. That's why I feel like when I hear people say nobody's showing up to my shows, I'm like, that's a you thing, not a us thing.
Ah, okay.
I feel
And
like
there are
that's
a
a
lot of
you
shows
thing.
in Florida.
There's a lot of shows in Florida. So, like I said, when I see people showing up to the shows and they've got 400 or 500 competitors, and then I see another show that's got 90 competitors, I'm like, oh, what happened? Oh, I know what happened. I saw this guy promoting all the time. I saw flyers at every gym I went to. This guy, I didn't see nothing but 1 to maybe 3 posts on his Instagram page.
And you
So,
see Tim Gardner, Steve Weinberger, uh, the Manions with the Pittsburgh Pro, Gary Udit. I constantly see those shows being promoted. You got the Anaheim, which is a new one here in California. That's always going to be a Wings of Strength show. And then you look at the Triple O Dynasty, and with what happened at the Arnold's, that's gone. Now everybody's going to the point where all women's shows are doing well. And when you got 3 Olympians, Whitney Jones, Sid Gillian, and of course, Andrea Shaw promoting the show, yet the numbers were down. And that show was announced 2 years prior. And then I just got to the point where, maybe they're just not supporting the champions of their division. It's on the West Coast. How was it marketed? The prize money is going to be a thing going up in 2025, and I'll get to that. But put on your promoter hat from competitor. You spoke from that lens. Put on your promoter hat. What would you do?
well, how old is the show now? 2 years?
This will be the second show coming up. It was announced 2 years prior to it happening in 2024. And so now in 2025, the Triple O Dynasty, this will be the second time coming around.
Okay, well, I think that when doing anything, you sometimes things happen overnight and sometimes they don't. So as a promoter, you would just have to stay consistent and faithful and know that you're doing what you're supposed to do, and that with time, the people are going to show up because they'll see the prize money is good. They'll see that it's ran by competitors as well. So you'll feel like they have your best interest in mind. I think I saw something where they were like, there was more people signed up than they thought or something, and they were concerned about like the tanning and the girls' hair and makeup time. And I saw a
The
post that was like,
overall logistics. Yeah.
they made an announcement that I saw a post and I wasn't even competing. And it was like, do not worry, or please do not worry or stress. We will not start the show until everybody's, hair and makeup. We're not going to rush. You know what I mean? So clearly they're increasing the numbers, but it may not have happened for the first show, but that doesn't mean that in 3 years or 5 years, it's not going to be the biggest show.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, like we said, we're all trying to get to the Olympia while also making some money. So if you're increasing prize money and you're continuously posting, the people are going to show up. That's not even a question. That's not a question. It's not a question.
2,500 at the New York Pro. And obviously, we got to talk about the Texas Pro, Sarah Villegas, 15K. I think the top 10 are all getting money. I think the lowest award of monies will be $1,000. And so that was 15K, 2,500 at the New York Pro. Pretty much a big disparity. What do you think will be the ultimate prize money payout that's going to get everybody at the show? Because every show is not going to be 15K, but likewise, every show is not going to be or shouldn't be 2,500. But it's progressing. It's trending in the right direction. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's all about this is what I can afford. Got it. But I think there's a sweet spot with prize money. My personal opinion, 10K, 10, 5, and 1,500. Top 3 only get money. As you in Olympia, only the top 3 don't have to recompete for Olympia. So it becomes watered down. It's not a participation trophy, but I think top 3 should get the money, 10K, 5K, 1,500. Just my opinion. What do you think as a competitor? What would draw you like, okay? And obviously the other stuff, the logistics, how the show is run, how it's promoted, the swag bags, how were you treated, all that rolls into it. But now with just on the prize money, what do you think?
I think the more money, the better. Obviously, I think the more money, the more athletes you're going to have, obviously. At the end of the day, what am I going to do with $2,500 other than cover the cost of the trip? And a lot of us obviously don't have sponsors. I got one sponsor, CJ's Elite Suits, who has provided me with suits since I won my first show at the Florida Grand Prix here.
Right.
I competed there, did the first show. I won my little, certificate and whatever. After that, I ended up getting a sponsorship. So that's all I've had all this time. So at the end of the day, $2,500 is basically going to cover, let's say, my coach. The whole rest of the year, if I only did one show, nothing else is covered. So if I'm going to pick a show, one of the first things I'm going to look at when deciding on what show I'm going to do is how much money am I going to make? How much money am I going to bring home from winning? And if my options are $2,000, which I'm not even sure what it was before. The New York used to be what, $2,000 or 1,500?
Everybody was talking about 1,500, 1,000.
And
but
500.
I didn't know it was 2,500 this year. So
yeah. So I believe it used to be 15, 1,000, and 500, which I'm almost certain. Yes. So if my option is 2,500 or 10K, I'm pretty sure you don't need me to answer that. So when I saw last year that Sarah did 10K or whatever, I'm pretty sure that was the biggest show for women's physique last year as far as like the size. Okay, so it's self-explanatory. How do we get girls to come to the show? Y'all not coming to the show. It's not science.
Yeah.
That part of this is not science. That's just dollars. It's not difficult. So yeah, I'm gonna go compete at the show that pay me.
Yeah.
Sorry. I love y'all. Y'all are great. Thank you for the support, but y'all ain't paying, bro. I'm sorry.
That's it.
It's not personal. This is my dad. My dad used to always say, you got to tell people don't take nothing personal. It's show biz, not friend biz.
Oh, yeah. Great point. It is business. And likewise, when you see the number of promoters who have more shows than others, promoters should be rewarded for the money that they bring in and how they promote it. And of course, it's always what the competitors say about your show. Your show was, I was treated well or I wasn't treated well.
That part.
You know, and that can be a thing where I don't care what the prize money is, that person is X, Y, and
Rude.
Z. I'm not going to that
Exactly.
show. Yeah.
I'm not gonna come back if I felt like, you're
Yeah.
rude, passive aggressive. You know what I mean? You just kind of like, and I've definitely been to shows like that. I've definitely been to shows like that. What? What's
Yeah.
happening right now? What do you mean? I'm here to support. So sometimes you gotta
Other
look at
little
yourself.
bennies like, should an Olympian getting the show for free? I'm talking about an NPC show or
Oh, yes.
and when you look at
Absolutely.
the coaches pass, should a coach pay to have to go backstage? It's little things that you can do because you get NPC show. If you were to say, okay, if you're a pro, you can come to the show for free. There's no coach fee if you want to coaches, and it likely, that competitor's first show. They want that coach backstage with them.
Well,
You got to calm that horse down before they get ready to run.
with that statement, though, I will say, especially the cost that the promoters spend between the judges, the sanction fees, the help, the facility, feeding all the helpers, they can't give everything away for free, which I've
No,
seen that firsthand.
you got to make a profit.
You have to make a profit. So I think that number one, yes, pros should get into the show for free like they used to pre-COVID, because that did not really start until COVID happened. Granted, there were some promoters that didn't really honor that whole system because that was a thing. It was a thing. If you are a pro, you used to get into NPC shows for free. So if you called in a reasonable amount of time, you can't just walk in the show like, I'm a pro, give me my ticket. No, you're supposed to ask, prior, whether it be 3 weeks or a month. Yeah, I
Right.
think that is exceptional. As
You
far
can
as,
set a deadline. If you want a free ticket as a pro, you need to have your stuff in by this
but why
time.
would you not want the pros there? You talking about we need to support and bring people in, but then you want me to pay to come to the show? Like, you should be wanting us there to get more people there. Like, no, everybody doesn't want to come to watch their friend that
Right.
looks like it's their first show
And you
compete.
mesh in, the meet and greet. Your guest poser is important, but if you have a list of pros that are going to be at the show, so if I'm doing a show this weekend locally, and I got the winner of the New York Pro there, that's going to sell some tickets, whether they're guest posing or maybe they're just doing a meet and greet.
Exactly. So I think that's something they could reconsider. Now, the coaches passes, I'm not with all that because a lot of the venues are small because they are expensive. So there's limited space and everybody coach can't be backstage. Everybody coach can't be backstage. So yes,
Right.
if you want your coach there, they need to pay. And it is $100. If you don't want to pay, meet me in the lobby, take your client to the lobby. Y'all do what you need to do out there. To
Right.
be backstage is a choice. You don't have
Yeah.
to be backstage. Granted, you need to know how to be aware of, when they're lining up, when you need to be pumping. Because if you're not back there, you could easily miss your class and that will be your own fault. And I've seen that too. And
Yeah.
to act crazy because you missed your class ain't nobody's fault but your own. That's wild to me. I've seen people act crazy. Not with that either. You pay to be backstage and you need to pay attention. That's part of being a coach.
Yeah.
That's part of your responsibility.
Everything that you said, I hope that at the end of the season, y'all can get in the room and talk about all this and continue to make it better. The prize money, like I said, is trending upward. I think the sweet spot is 10, 5, and 15. But it's definitely got to be better than 1,000, 2,500. And then I get it, 15K. Everybody's in the business of making money. The competitors want to make money. The promoters want to make money, and of course, the fans want to come and see a great show. You know, one thing that we haven't, not every show has fitness, and it's hard to find fitness competitors at a show. I don't know if it's because it's more the posing and stuff, everything that they do. But I don't buy that. Okay, the most popular division is wellness and bikini, but wellness and bikini, they ain't making no money. And if that's your go-to, if that's your money maker, why is their prize money going up? And I've heard people say, well, when the bikini comes on, everybody leaves the room. People come for their division that they want to see. But the ones that are getting the most shade, figure, women's physique, and women's bodybuilding. Definitely don't want to see it go away. And I guess I'll end this on your last question. How do you market women's physique, women's bodybuilding, and figure? You being a women's physique pro, two-time Olympian, what's the state of, if you were to give a speech, much like the president, State of the Union, what is the state of women's physique? And I'll let you out of here on this one.
One of the things that I always stress when I'm speaking publicly or individually to somebody who is considering or whatever, bodybuilding, whatever, I always, let them know at the end of the day, when you have invested all this time and effort into this sport, number one choice you need to make, regardless of the money, let's even forget about the money, because at the end of the day, you have to love what you're doing. That's like going and getting a job that you don't want to do because the pay is good. So you're making money, but you're unhappy, which makes no sense. But some people do it. I'm, whatever. I'm to each his own. But first of all, you need to make sure that the category you're in is the category that suits you and that makes you happy. For me, I didn't do all this to get up stage and quarter turn, swivel my cheeks and turn back around. I wanted muscles. I wanted to flex them. So when I see people like on IG and stuff, hitting on it, and then I find out they're in figure.
Yeah.
The math is not mathing for me.
Yeah.
Clearly your heart is somewhere else. So I don't understand why you're in a different class. But again, to each his own. I don't know if it's they're scared of the class getting canceled, or they're scared of what their peers or whoever might say because, oh, you're too big, don't do anymore, you look great how you are. I don't know. But at the end of the day, you're going to get on stage. How long you want to be up there? 30 seconds? Or do you want to have a full routine and feel like you actually got something out of all your hard work? Because for me, I need my full 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
I need my 2-minute routine. I need my 1-minute introduction. And, I consider the quarter turns and all that stuff as time on the stage. So that's why I say 5 to 6 minutes, because other than that, if you're figure, what else do you got? Like your little 1-minute thing and then your quarter turns. So you're not going to be up there very long. I want to enjoy. I want to show my artwork. I want to have my time well spent. And for me, it's only going to be well spent in women's physique or women's bodybuilding. So I always tell them, how much time you want on stage? Because it's going to go by really quick. And by the time your weekend is over, you're going to feel like it didn't happen, because it's literally that quick. So suck in as much time as you can, and your best investment is women's physique. That's
okay. That's going to take me another one. I know it left. All right, so which one's better, women's physique or women's bodybuilding? And before you answer, me in my world, I would have a pose down. I would have bikini versus wellness. I would have women's physique versus women's bodybuilding, fitness versus figure. And let's see who's the best of the best. Because when you look at women's physique, women's bodybuilding, you have abdominals and thighs. Women's physique, hands are open. Women's bodybuilding, the hands are clenched or clenched fists. Who's better? Who do you? I mean, you want to, maybe even from a fan perspective, I think it would be great. But maybe you do a call out. I'm calling out this women's bodybuilding. We're going to do the pose down. Let's go. Why is women's physique better than women's bodybuilding?
I don't think it is. And that's just my
Okay. Then
opinion. I
why
don't,
don't you move up to women's bodybuilding?
because you need to be competitive enough to last in the division that you are in. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm not gonna be a third call out women's bodybuilding. Like,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? So when my
Mm.
body gets to that level, I will gladly jump up because I'm pretty sure again, they making more money over there and they getting cars. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not
And they're
getting
getting carbs.
in no cars.
Carbs. Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. And they're getting cars. I ain't seen one. Ooh, I ain't seen any cars for women's physique as of yet.
Great point. Great.
So
Well, I think that's going away with the Rising Phoenix. They're no longer giving away cars, but 50K at the Olympia, 50K at the Rising Phoenix. So yeah,
well,
I don't
exactly.
know even if the prize money. I got to find what the prize money is at the Rising Phoenix for women's physique versus women's bodybuilding. Because
It's not even close to the same. It's
yeah.
$2,500. It's
Oh
twenty
wow,
five hundred dollars, Glenn. If
2,500 versus 50K.
unless I'm
Oh,
mistaken.
oh, yeah. We got
Unless
to
I'm
look up the.
mistaken.
Well, wow. Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's one reason why I've never done that show. I'm like, so they giving 50K to women, but and they're like, oh, that's because they didn't have an Olympia, but they have an
Mm-hmm.
Olympia now.
Right.
So obviously they can't make the money less because it would look crazy. So they left it the same, but it doesn't really make sense to me. But
Yeah.
whatever. I think that it's great for women's bodybuilding because look what's happened. Look how much it's grown. All,
Yes.
all the all the physique girls switching up. But that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing. Like I said, like you need to be don't switch to bodybuilding because you can't get conditioned enough for physique, which is what I
Oh,
feel like has happened.
great answer.
I
Great
feel
answer.
like a lot of the physique girls went to bodybuilding because they won't get shredded. Not that they can't, they won't get shredded.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to bodybuilding, but your physique is not, in my opinion, large enough to
Mm-hmm.
be bodybuilding. To me, women's bodybuilding, you're supposed to have mass. You need to be
Mm-hmm.
bigger. There should be a clear difference, and there's not. There should be a clear difference between women's physique and women's bodybuilding.
Do you think two exceptions would be Angela Yo and Ashley Jones, given what you've seen?
Oh, they're bodybuilders. What are you talking about? They're
Okay. No, so
bodybuilders.
they were one time women's physique. Those are the ones that have moved up and
Them
done
ain't the
well.
ones I'm talking about, Glenn.
I'm
Those
just
are
saying, hey, just wanted to
those are
clarify.
those are clearly not. Like, and
Mhm.
Ashley, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like that girl right there is gonna be a very interesting Olympia. She
Yeah.
definitely,
Freakish.
she definitely is gonna give people some trouble for sure. She's
Gotcha.
obviously not one of the women's physique that should have reconsidered staying in women's physique.
Mm.
Angela, I don't even know what Angela, right? Angela?
Angela Yo.
Yes, I don't
She's number
even
2 in the
really.
world.
Yes, but I don't know what she looked like as a women's physique. So to me,
Mm.
she's always been a bodybuilder. And even Andrea used to be women's
Women's
physique.
physique. Yep.
But I never knew her as a women's physique either. I only know her as a women's
Women's
bodybuilder.
bodybuilder. Yeah.
And even Michaela, women's physique,
Yep.
but they look like
Michaela
they
Aycock.
belong where they are.
Yeah.
They obviously made the correct decision. There's some people that should probably go back to women's physique until they can get to a level to be competitive there. Because at the end of the day, unless you're just doing this as a hobby and you're
Yeah.
not interested in any return or any investment, then fine, do whatever it is you gonna do. But for me, I'm gonna stay right here. I'm gonna stay right here until I feel like I can move up. But even then, even if I was to put on another 20 pounds, I would probably still feel like I need to be big. Somebody would
Yeah.
literally probably have to pick me up and move me for me to feel like it was
Yeah.
time to move. You know what I mean? Because as athletes, we're always like, oh, I need to be better. Oh, I want more. I can do this. But we don't see it really sometimes because you're just so used to working harder and feeling like you need to put more in. And sometimes you just need a reality slap.
Yeah. Great thoughts. Enjoyed talking to you, Brittany. Brittany Flex Herrera, 2-time Olympian. Thanks for coming on the Amazon's podcast. I want to get you back on. I know you said, what are you, 75, 80% that you will not compete this season, but haven't ruled it out. If you do, pick a show. Hey, reach out to me. Say, hey, Glenn, let's talk. I want to do a show. Okay?
I will definitely notify you if that happens. If that happens, I will let you know. Or I won't, and I'll just let you see my name on the list.
Oh, don't do that. Come on, you got to give me the exclusive.
All right.
Don't do that.
I am committing to giving you the exclusive info. Okay, you will be the first.
Exactly. That's what I want. And obviously, we got to map it out to get you in Amazon's Fitness magazine, because I am the only magazine that's promoting women's bodybuilding. So, and I promote all 6 divisions as well, but would love to have you in it. And Brittany, thanks for talking to me. Really
thank you so much, Glenn, and thank you for all the support for women's physique, women's bodybuilding. We love and appreciate you. We need more people like you helping support and grow the sport, because without it, we're gonna be stuck at $1,500 until Jesus comes.
Love you too, and let's get that going. And like I said, I pray that there's some type of summit after the season so we can work out all this and and continue to grow women's bodybuilding, women's physique, but women's bodybuilding overall, as far as all 6 categories.
Exactly.
Thank you, Brittany. Coming up tomorrow night, it is Bianca Rodriguez. She'll be joining at 7:30, and then at 8:30 p.m., Hannah Hussein will be on the podcast. So looking forward to that. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to how you support women's bodybuilding, women's physique. If you're a fan, say you're a fan, and just go on from there. Don't be ashamed of them. But Blanca Rodriguez at 7:30, and then Hannah Hussein at 8:30. And I want to give a shout out to Wanderlust Travel Agency. This is by Marquette Oquiet 80. She's a nurse. She started her own travel business. She's an ad sponsor in Amazon's Fitness magazine. So I would urge you to reach out to her, because she can save you some money on all these travels that you're going to be doing at the shows. And you support another women's bodybuilder as well. So support their business. That's about it. Thanks again for Brittany Flex Herrera for joining us. I'm Glenn Young. We will see you tomorrow night. One thing I will leave you with, everybody's not going to be for you, but it doesn't mean that everybody's against you. But you can best rest assured that everybody's watching. So give them a show. We'll see you next time.